Hey everybody, welcome back to another talk with Tech Circus at the Web 3.0 conference. I'm delighted to introduce to you today Donald Bullers, the co-founder of Tomb Technologies, who you've already seen earlier interviewing Rong Chen, and will now be speaking about time's up for Web 2 and talking about how Web 3 can give you more value for your time spent online. Just a couple of things about the chat. You're probably getting introduced to it a little bit already, but you can leave your questions in the Q&A section and we will get to those at the end. And also, Donald has put in a couple of polls, so you'll be able to see those on the far right about social media, a couple of questions. And if you want to get your answers in there, we'll get a chance to look at them as well as we're going through. So without further ado, here's Donald for his talk.
Thanks for that intro. Welcome, everybody. Today's going to be an interactive experience. We're going to journey from Web 2, which is the web that you're using today, and to the Web 3. Everybody is talking about this Web 3. What is it? There's a lot of talk around it, but actually using it and being a part of it is it's not happening. So what I'm going to do within 30 minutes today is show you how to do it. How to participate right here. If you have a mobile device and a computer in front of you, we can go through some of the steps and participate in the polls because we'll be diving into that right now. So going into the first question, what is the most valuable asset every one of us will ever own? Pull it up on screen, see how everybody's doing. It looks like we're split. A majority is picking time, also data, no longer oil and money, what we've previously talked about. So let's go ahead and see. It's actually time. So time is the most valuable asset that every one of us will ever own in our lifetime. Throughout your life, most of these things that you obtain go up in value. Hopefully, your salary continues to increase in value. Hopefully, let's see here, your salary, your retirement, also your net worth. There's a lot of things that you're going to have throughout the course of your life that goes up in value. But one thing that does not is time. You're most rich in time the day that you're born, and that continues to go down throughout your lifetime. So that's very important to what we're going to talk about today going into Web 3. Those who have gained the most success and consolidated control on the internet are companies that best understand this fact. So we need to think about that. These companies now, the Googles, the Facebooks, the Amazons, primarily we'll talk more about social media today, but they understand that they want your screen time. That's where the value lies. So let's talk about this. How long do you think the average person spends on social media each day? The poll is showing about 8%, say 17 minutes, 15%, 38 minutes, 30%, 95 minutes, and about 43% is saying 144 minutes. The answer is 144 minutes. So, on average, people are spending 144 minutes on social media. Some countries and regions, that's much more. In some areas, it's less. But around the world, globally, we're spending 144 minutes on social media each day. So, if you have an Apple device and you have a tracker that's telling you your screen time, you get it. You understand that. No big deal. But let's span out a little bit. Assuming you start using social media at the age of 10 and you're on social media throughout the average lifespan, that comes out to 3,462,390 minutes. That's a lot. Now think of it this way. That's 6 years and 8 months of your life that you're on social media. That's not taking into account the amount of time that you're on the internet. So think about that. From the day you're born until about first grade, all that time in your life is spent on social media. Now, what we've seen recently with the emergence of working from home, remote work, going digital, we're transitioning into this metaverse, this Web3, that's going to increase, and it has continued to increase rapidly over the past few years. So, on the current web, the business advertising model has incentivized social media companies to develop algorithms that capture as much of your screen time as possible. So when you're on Facebook, when you're on others, their goal is to keep you on their platforms. That's where the value lies for them. That's how they can gain some revenue through advertising. And their algorithms are developed for you to stay on these social media platforms. However, this model is broken. So let's quickly go through Web 1, Web 2, Web 3. Web 1 was developed many years ago, and it was primarily read-only. So it was created for companies, not individuals. Few people knew how to operate the internet, and there was not much content creation. Very basic, not very user-friendly. So that's not going to work out in the long run, considering how much time we spend on the internet today and where we're going with this. So there's emergence of Web 2. This is read and write. This is pretty amazing. It unlocked the abilities of everything that we're doing today. And I think that Web 2, where we're at, there's not much you could say bad about it. But what happened was these companies who understand the fact that they want to have your time online on their platforms, they know how to work the system. They have developed silos where you are retained inside those silos. You don't have ownership. You have limited control. You are provided the platforms for free, which is nice, but we've kind of been taught to think that, okay, this is the way that it should be. So that's not going to work out. What we need is something different. And that's where Web3 comes in. So many people are now talking about Web3. There's all these different kinds of definitions. You can get very technical about it. But as we go through this talk today, I want you to think about it from this definition. So Web3 brings about read, write, and own. Ownership. Ownership is huge. It's a web where every user controls their identity, shares in the ownership, and is free to move their data outside the confines of a single platform. This is what we need. And this is what we're going to talk about today. So why is time so important when describing Web3? Because your time is worth more than zero. Right now, you're retaining no value from your time online. So let's get into it. Where we're going to go for the rest of this conversation is own yourself. Our team at Tomb Technologies, using the open infrastructure development software from Elastos, is helping to develop platforms, applications for you to own yourself. And that's where we're going with Web3. We're going to break it down into 4 different parts: identity, access, community, and ownership. Identity. Do you own your social accounts? The answer is no. So this is very important. Think about what you've been doing over the past couple of days, months, years. A lot of people spend so much time on Instagram trying to build up their influence, to become influencers, to gain followers. Or maybe you decide to use Facebook. Very similar. You develop your groups, you develop a following, you develop likes, you become popular. Same goes for Twitter. A lot of crypto likes to use Twitter. I have nothing against Twitter. I use it all the time. But you do not own those accounts. You cannot take that with you. All that information that you're doing on Twitter, spending your whole life trying to develop a following and to get a reputation, You can't take that with you to Facebook. You can't take that with you to Instagram. You can't take that anywhere. And you're at threat. So you have that username. It could be taken down. You mistakenly do something or someone impersonates you. The platform has the ability to take that away from you. So just think about that. I think we need to do that several times throughout this conversation and put yourself in that situation. It may never happen to you, but that is a lot relying on somebody else. So should you be required to create a new account on every platform? Currently you do, but that's not the way it should be. So let's continue. Elastos. This is the first part of what I want to talk about going into Web3. Where we begin is with identity. You need to take ownership of your identity. That is the starting point of Web3, and this is something that Elastos provides. Elastos can provide you with a decentralized identity. These are decentralized identifiers. And how does this work? We have the blockchain. You, as a user, right now, can go create your own DID. It's a decentralized identifier. You can have that for an individual. You can have that for a business. You can have that for a smart device in your home. You can use that for many different things, digital assets. This is very important because you created it. It's self-sovereign. Nobody else controls that. There's no government that's assigning this to you, like a birth certificate, social security card, vaccination card. There's no company that's assigning this to you. Nobody. You do it yourself. You can create as many as you want. You can have one for your business life. You can have one for your crypto life. You can have one for your hobbies, games, whatever. So that's the starting point. You have a decentralized identifier. It's very simple. It's just one code on the blockchain. You have the private seed so that you can access that and nobody else. And there's a lot that you could do with that decentralized identifier. What you can do is you can start to use verifiable credentials. So you build up a reputation on your identity in a digital world, in the metaverse, the Web3, you own it. This is very important. So if you want to learn more about Elastos, go to the website, elastos.org, follow them on Twitter. And I think that you'll be very interested in not only the identity component that they provide, but we're going to go into the remainder of this talk about some of the applications and services that are spawned from this, because there's a lot more that goes into it beyond identity. Access. This is the next component. So you've created your identity. Now we need to have access to these platforms to Web3. 100. The average person now has over 100 usernames and passwords. So I've been using this stat over the past year or two to talk about usernames and passwords. It was previously about 70 usernames or passwords, and that has spiked over the past year to 100. And as we go more digital, this is going to continue to increase. So that's a problem, because every time you create a new username and password, that is a new platform that controls that part of your identity. So there's several threats there. It's subject to being hacked. Someone can retain that username and password. If you're using the same password multiple times across 10, 20, 30, 40 different platforms, you're open to threat on all of those. A lot of times this is linked to your personal information. This is linked to your banking information. This is linked to a lot. So there's a lot of problems there. Also, like I've said previously, this is owned by each platform. So you don't retain that. You can't take that with you to another. The access is very limited. You pick and choose these few applications that you want to use, and you're stuck with that. So enter Elastos Essentials. This is very important. So as I said, we'll be a little bit more interactive today. If you have an Android phone or an iOS phone with you today, go to the Google Play Store, go to the Apple Store, and search for Elastos Essentials. Right now, during this conversation, if you have that ability, go ahead and download it. What this is it's your access. So right away, after you download this, you're immediately created a DID. That's that Elastos decentralized identifier. This is for you. It's only yours. No one else can do anything with it. You're not asked to provide an email address, your phone number, personal information. It's yours. So you have it. Open the app once created for you. And what it provides is a seamless interaction with Web3 applications and different blockchains. So what's unique about this wallet compared to others in the crypto space is that you can also have your crypto assets, you can have your identity, you can have your decentralized storage, you can have a lot. So this is very important. As we're talking about transitioning from Web 2 to Web 3, you're going to have to retain your own identity, and you're also going to have a wallet. This was scary probably several years ago, but anybody that uses Apple uses an Apple wallet. Anybody that's gone digital and has traveled around the world, scanning QR codes, all this is going to be done on your wallet. We're going digital. I mean, there's no way to fight against it. We're having a metaverse that's being created. We're having Web3 that's being created. If you just stop and think how much we've transitioned into a digital world just over the last 2 years due to global effects, this is going to grow exponentially as the technology advances. So you need to retain that identity. You need to test out wallet applications, because we'll go into a little further after this, but this is where you're going to start to have tokens. This is where you're going to start to build up your digital reputation, your credentials. The world's changing, and you need to start by testing out these type of applications now. So beyond your DID, beyond integrations with other Web3 applications, this wallet right here has a crypto wallet. You can do different things like swapping amongst tokens and currencies and all that. It also has smart contract capabilities. So go ahead, if you haven't already, download that and try it out. You can check it out in the app stores. You can follow them online, Web3 Essentials. And also you can put this link in and have access to the download links right away, elinks.elastos.net. So we've done the identity, we've done the access, and now this is something that I'm excited about, community. This is where profile comes in. Our team at Tomb Technologies has been working on a platform for the past 18 months that has been spawned from a previous 18 plus months of development with Elastos to build profile. With a Web3 decentralized identity and profile, you can communicate your personal story and build communities how you want with crypto, NFT, blockchain enthusiasts you can trust. So here's the next part of the interactive process. You have your wallet, your Web3 Essentials wallet on your phone. Now you go to profile.site, profile.site, open it up on your desktop, and here you can learn about what it is, and you can access immediately with your device. So if you're on the page, you go to sign up on your desktop, you have your Elastos Essentials wallet open up on your phone. On the left, there's a little spot that says sign in. You click it, a QR code pops up, you scan it with your phone. Now that information that you've created on your phone is brought to the platform. This is very important because this is how we're going to be interacting on the Web3. It's just one example of what you can do with this technology. So you have your phone, you're signing into profile. You can do the very same thing through Wallet Connect and all these other softwares where you can go into these platforms and simply scan QR codes, and that information is brought with you. Now, that's very important because it's different. That's the difference of Web3 and Web2. You are retaining all that identity, your reputation, your data, your history, yourself. You are taking that with you to the platforms that you want when you use them. And then once you're on these platforms, you're not storing that data and information on the platform and the applications. You're storing that yourself. You're either storing that at home on a hardware device. You're storing that through a friend, a neighbor, a trusted third party. You can even be using it similar services like you do today, allowing these other platforms to store this data for you, but it's trusted and it's your choice. And that's what's very important. So these applications and these platforms have to request to have access to that information. They need to request what you're doing and as you spend your time on their platforms. Then you get alerts and notifications on your device. You click accept, and you know what's happening behind the scenes. Right now, you don't know that. So right now, go to profile.site, S-I-T-E, try it out, read about it. If you don't want to sign up today, you can do it later. But just understand that this is where we're going with things. You can follow the platform on Twitter, try profile, and let's go on to the next part. Our final part is ownership. So let's go through all the steps again one more time. You have identity, you have access, you're building out a community on profile, and now you're going to have ownership. And this is what's important. And think about the definitions that we created earlier for Web 1, 2, and 3. And this third point for Web 3 is ownership. And this is really what unlocks all the potential of your time and creating the value. And the whole point of this discussion and why our team has spent 4+ years building out this technology and where we're going to go next. So it's ownership. You have your identity. You have complete control of what you're doing online. So now you own that on your device, on profile, on essentials. There's storage component there where you are keeping track of all that data. Now, what can you do with that? You can build out communities. You can gain ownership of your identity. You can spawn up these communities. And what I mean about spawn up NFT communities is in the coming weeks, you'll be able to do this on profile. You purchase an NFT. A lot of people have talked about NFTs lately, and you think about Bored Apes or CryptoPunks or you name it. Somewhere along the line, whether you've been at a gas station, a coffee shop, or wherever, watching TV, people are talking about these NFTs. And you may think of it as, oh, it's just a picture that someone can steal, or what does this really even mean? It's so much more. And what it is it could be a membership. You could be an influencer and have your followers. You could have a popular brand and the fans, a musician, an athlete. You can spin up these NFTs where your community can own one of those NFTs. And then what can they do with it? They can go to platforms like Profile, scan their phone, everything's stored on the blockchain. You're instantly allowed into these communities. So there's nothing else that you have to do. The platform's not really controlling any of this for you. And what's in your wallet, your digital wallet, like Elastos Essentials, is your access. So we're doing, like I said, in the next couple of weeks, you'll be able to do this. And you can even go on Profile now today, and you can sign up to have a community created. This can be an NFT collection that you're familiar with or a part of. This can be a personal space that you're going to have your own tokens to grant access. And really what it's doing is it's knowing what you're obtaining through your reputation, through your history being online, that time that you're spent, what you're doing and interacting with the internet. And this is going to allow you into these communities. So going back to the Bored Apes, which is very popular right now, it's very expensive to have one of those. And the value can lie in being a part of that tight-knit community. So if you have that in your wallet, you're allowed to get into these spaces and interact with these people. But if you go and sell it, the blockchain is immediately going to know that, and you're kicked out. So that's where tokens start to come in. And there's going to be a lot more things beyond NFTs that are going to give you this access. So one thing that we've mentioned is getting into these communities and interacting, but also features such as chat. You may want to communicate directly with someone that's in your network. That's fine. That's easy to do. If you mutual follow each other, you can communicate. But maybe it's a celebrity, or maybe you want to reach out to investors or someone that's really hard to get a hold of through tokens, through NFTs. There's ways that you can do that, because now there's an ownership there where you are vested in this community. The person that's the musician or the popular person that's running this community, they have an interest in their community as well. And so there may be an exchange of tokens, or maybe just proving that you have ownership of that NFT, and you can communicate directly with that individual. So there's a lot that you can do there. And another part is connecting with other blockchain verified users. A cool feature on Profile is the authentication, the verifiable credentials that are attached to your identity. So what do I mean by that? Let's just say LinkedIn. How many 700 million plus users use it as their online resume spot? You have to trust that that person's telling the truth. There's no way to verify that that person really worked at that place, has that experience, is who they say they are. So now, simply as one feature on Profile by using Web3 is you can verify that information. Here's a quick example. So say that you went to Harvard University. I go to LinkedIn, I put that in. Okay, so people have to believe that. But if you go to Profile, there could be a chain of history on the blockchain verifying that information. You can have your peers as classmates that are also verified that they went there. Say, 50 of them said that you went there. Great. So you try and get a job. Someone's going to go and look and see. They may trust that those 50 other verified classmates verified you and you went there. Maybe it's not good enough. Maybe it's a government position that's high level and you need to have that other verification level. So you can check and see, has that university verified this individual? There you go. That's great. So that's part of Web3 and how this interaction is going to work. Another thing is, maybe I don't want to tell the world my birth date, but people need to know my age. I want to access an age-restricted event. I want to access an age-restricted website. And so what's going to happen is it can verify and say this individual is older than 18, but you don't have to show your ID, your driver. Like, why are we showing our driver license today to tell people our age? It should be verified digitally without having to give away all that information. And that's things that you're going to be able to do by owning your identity, having these wallets, being on these platforms, and using this technology the way that it should be. And all of this is going back to ownership and going back to empowering the users. So I just have a few icons up here just to give an idea of this whole ownership thing. There's DAOs being created. These are decentralized organizations. Basically, they're groups of individuals that get passionate about something. They get together. They can raise money, raise funds. They could do things. But right now, it's difficult. People are jumping on centralized platforms like Discord. They're scrambling around to try and verify these people are who they say they are. They may have to try and organize into different groups based on putting together the governance, putting together the tokenomics, putting together investing, different things, even as simple as helping to build out the platforms. And you have to go through traditional means, traditional platforms, look around to see the history on these people. But if this is all done on your Web3 device and your reputation is there and it's stored historically on the blockchain, you can simply scan, have that information there. The platforms, the DAOs, the groups can request certain pieces of that information. You get an alert, you give an okay, and they can place you immediately into these groups. If you are beyond DAOs, if you want to set up some kind of a governance or a voting type system, you can do that. These are just a few of the many things that you can do with the technology. And all of this goes back to, how are we spending our time online? Right now, there's no value to what you're doing. There's no ownership to what you're doing. And the days of having an empty status online are coming to an end. There's so much more that we could do by not changing much. The experience could be very, very similar to what we know today, but the value is there, you have ownership, and there's so much more that you can do. So I'm going to leave it there. I thank everybody for joining today. You can follow me on Twitter, Donald Bullers. You can follow our company, Tomb Tech. Send me DMs, reach out. We're here, we're building it. I'm excited about Elastos, what we're building, and I thank you all.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Donald. And ironically, we're almost out of time, unfortunately. The most important resource, but maybe we could quickly, there's one question rushing off ahead of all the other ones here. Can you explain user-specific data in Web 3.0? That's probably going to take a bit more time, but I don't know if there's any thoughts you think that could be useful for people.
Yeah, so the topic of data is pretty extensive, and it would take a long time. But I think that that's something that's very important that we need to understand as we're going into next. And I kind of strayed away from talking specifically about that because that's a whole huge component of where we're going with data. We want to monetize that and give that value back to the users. So we're still in the parts now where we're trying to figure out how do we value data. People seem to think that I'm online, I should be getting paid, but really it's groupings of data and understanding which of that is important to someone that's going to want to pay you for it. So we need to find ways to put that data together. We need to have marketplaces for that. But then once we get to that point, and you're doing this by having this type of technology and starting now by having your identity, building up your reputation, being able to store that data yourself, whenever the technology catches up to that, there's going to be amazing things that happen, just like you being online can end up paying for your groceries every week because there may be a tax to the platforms that you're using that kicks money back to you, tokens back to you. You're getting rewarded for that data every time someone wants to touch on the group that you're a part of, the community you're a part of, what you're doing, understanding those components of data that are valuable to others. There's going to be mechanisms in place where the whole infrastructure is changed to a point where you get those tokens, you get those currencies, and you don't have to do anything different because you have the wallet. It's all there. It could be hit like what's a we don't have much time, but what's amazing now, if you just get into Web3 and you try this stuff out, people are going to sleep and waking up in the morning and there's new tokens in their accounts just by being parts of communities, or there's so much value to what you're doing. Maybe it is your data, maybe it's just being part of the right community, maybe it's just participating, and then the platform's going back and paying or helping out those contributors from helping them get off the ground. So there's so much more to it. I wish we had more time, but yeah.
I know, unfortunately, that's always the ultimate thing. But thank you very much for your talk, Donald. Really insightful and really informative. There is another talk starting now, folks, with Jeff Booth and Natalie Brunel on economics and how exponentiality will change our understanding of it. So that's starting now if you want to head over. And there's lots more great talks coming. So I'll see you over there.
Yep. Yeah. Thank you.
See you there.